Hi everybody, my name is Joe Rodriguez. I am part of the bi-weekly blended cohort here at the UCLA EMBA program. And today is our inaugural podcast with our cohort, and I'm delighted to be joined by Robert Hatcher. Robert, how are you, brother?
Doing well, Joe. How are you doing?
I'm doing excellent. So this is an experiment, right? We're like trying this out. We're going to see how it goes. But you're the very first one, man. How does it feel to be the first one?
I'm not really sure I'm the first. You do this for a living,
But you're the first for the EMBA podcast.
Okay, fair enough.
You're the first 2023 EMBA cohort podcast guest.
Yeah, so I figure my job is to kind of kick the snowball downhill and see if we can get an avalanche going.
Oh, I like that. I like the avalanche, except minus all the deaths and all that, you know?
Yeah, well, like a positive avalanche. Not, let's not stick to anything too destructive.
All right, let's do that. All right, so the goal of this podcast is obviously for people to get to know all of us, right? Like the other folks. There's over 200, members in our cohort, and it's practically impossible, as we figured out and we noticed on, during our leadership week, it's really tough to talk to 200 people. So the goal is obviously for people to get to know you a little bit better. So let's first start out with you sharing a little bit more about yourselves. Maybe it could be something like, where you're from originally, where you live right now, where you're working at, etc. Whatever you want to share. Tell us about yourself.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, leadership week was a gauntlet, man. Like, that was emotionally draining. Long days, but then also like you're always on. So I think it's good to kind of get something recorded. So what should people know about me, or what do I want them to know about me? So please call me Robert. No Rob is okay, but no Bob or Bobby. Originally from Houston, still live in Texas. I'm in Austin now. I do digital marketing for a B2B company called Logic Monitor. So I manage all of our like PPC ads. So that's a fun challenge. I've been doing like performance marketing, growth marketing. It has like a bunch of different names, but I've been doing that in different channels and forms since about 2014. So started with email marketing. I've done display, but right now I'm kind of doing a little bit of everything on Microsoft and Google. I get paid to spend money online and generate leads, and it's a fun company. They're actually based out of Santa Barbara, so I think that's pretty close to here. Still figuring out my California geography, but Austin office is like the new one. It's like one of the big ones, and I just have a great team that I work with. That's pretty much the work situation. So like some non-work things. I come from a family of educators. I'm like the only person who didn't teach. So like I'm still kind of figuring all this out. I want to be a chief marketing officer, and I don't know how to get there, and I don't have like someone in the family to look at. My parents were like, why don't you get like a concrete degree, math, science, like physics, stuff like that. And then you can like, if that doesn't work out, you could just teach, right? Because, in Texas, they had like this amnesty program where you could get like I don't want to say temporary, but your license was contingent on you pursuing your master's within a certain time frame. So like you really could just get your undergraduate, teach, and your license would expire if you never got your master's. So it'll give you like a 3-year window to like figure out what your grad degree would be. But when I told my parents I was going to get my BBA, and they were like, who gets a degree in business? Like, get degrees in real things, like law, mathematics. So, but I have a lot of appreciation for universities because of that. And, growing up, one of my dad's sayings was, the day you stop learning is the day you stop living. And there's formal education, there's informal education, but it's always about waking up each morning like receptive in every encounter. Like, I can learn something new from anybody I meet today. I can learn something new about myself through introspection. So that's a little bit about like personal and professional me. Does any of that make sense?
Absolutely. Now, what really stood out though is like the quote that you said about your dad sounds something like that John Wooden said, right? About not learning, right? Like the day you stop learning, that's the day that you're done, or something like that. That's one of his quotes.
Yeah, there's a lot of different versions of it. That's just the way my dad phrased it. But I wouldn't be surprised if Coach Wooden and a couple other influential leaders used something like that because, so maybe I'll miss you with this, but like, have you ever actually read the Jurassic Park books?
No, but I've heard that they're 100 times better than the movies.
I got you. So I actually went back and read them. That was a project I did with my dad. While I was in college, we bought like all of Michael Crichton's books and just read them. So like Time Frame and Drawn in a String, we were just like reading them and like sharing them around. And so another way it's illustrated that I think some people understand is Dr. Ian Malcolm, right? Like he's actually kind of the star in the books. And so in the Lost World book, he talks about like life on the edge of chaos, right? Where if you evolve too quickly, you become like irrelevant for your environment. If you refuse to evolve, then you become irrelevant for your environment. So like life thrives on this like theory, and I'm pretty sure that's not how evolution works, but it's also a good way to like envision our investment in ourselves. Like, yeah, you can do too much, but I think it's a lot harder to do too much than it is to do too little. I think a lot of us, not a lot of us, that's a big generalization, but I really enjoy being around people who think the same way and that are always, appreciative and open and receptive to other knowledge they can get from their environment.
Like they say, right? Knowledge is power. But that brings us to a perfect segue. Speaking in education, so why UCLA for you?
I'm pretty sure we covered this in org behavior, but I think I fell into some of those confirmation biases we talked about. I've been looking at grad schools for a while, and I got burned out. I wasn't really finding the program that I was looking at. I did look locally, UT Rice. I also did like some online things like at UNC and Clemson, and I don't know, like maybe it's a phrase I can get going, but like don't market to a marketer. And so I got like a paid social marketing campaign from UCLA, Serica, but I knew it was like an advertised inbox thing. So I took the meeting, and I think one of the first or second questions I asked her was like, what did your social media manager like look for in my profile? Because you make audiences for paid social, and she talked about like what my profile was impressive and changing jobs and kind of always growing and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, lucky for you guys, I am looking for a grad school. So from there, we just started talking about the EMBA program, and I only talked to UCLA. I didn't talk to anybody else. I try to like just focus in on an option. And I told myself, if this is a good fit, there's accolades, but there's also like the environment. And one thing that stood out compared to some of the things I saw with like Arizona State or like I said, go back to like UNC, they're just very dollar line driven, but they were also like just very dismissive. So when you try to say like, hey, okay, UNC wants me to pay like $180,000 for their executive MBA, and I asked about the ROI, and they're like, well, you'll have a MBA from UNC. And I don't know, that just doesn't jive with me very well. And so
You wanted more. You wanted more depth.
well, I just want more respect.
Mm.
And again, same like intro, we talk about like funnels and like lead flow and stuff, like different conversation with UCLA. I brought that up again, like in the first or second interview, and I'm getting a lot of feedback, and that's how I learned about like the CLD and then like what Tom and their team are doing to like help us get our investment back immediately. And like, I'm pretty sure those other schools had it, but they weren't going to tell me about it on a 20-minute screening call.
Right.
They were just going to be like, puff their chest out and peacock and be like, we're great. You're going to make 4X on our $200,000 degree just because. And my brain doesn't work that way. And so the more I engage with UCLA and Anderson and the staff and team at Anderson, the better I felt about applying. And so I did one application, and I said, I won't worry about anything else until what Anderson decides on. And lucky for me, they said yeah. So now I'm here.
I love these segues, right? Like some of them are a lot easier than others, but that being said, now that you're here, and you don't have to fully elaborate, but just like, at least some context would be great. Tell us about what are like the 2 to 3 things that you hope to get from this program.
Yeah, I'm going to rephrase that question for you. I really don't look at it as an itemized list like that.
Okay.
I'm not going to stack rank it, but I think there's a couple mindsets I'm working with around this. I think the primary mindset is what I'm bringing here to Anderson is I'm trying to get outside my bubble, meet entirely different people, be in new surroundings, different examples, just different education style, get out of like the Texas bubble, and really get an honest evaluation for where my skill set's at. So that's what I'm trying to bring to the program, is like this raw and exposed vibe. I'm getting out of my comfort zone and I'm going big outside my comfort zone. What I hope comes from that is that I start to see a couple more options, right? I know I want to be a chief marketing officer. I love marketing. I love everything related to like customer journeys. I pretty much like any industry that's reputable. You know, will I be good at every industry? No, but I like keeping the options open. And so I know that if I can bring this attitude to Anderson, you know, you see how I try to bring the attitude as well with like the studies. You know, if we can get the books right, I get the networking right, and really leverage what Anderson has to offer, then I know what my next 2 or 3 steps are working towards being a CMO. I know it's not going to be instant. You know, they're not going to hand me a diploma. We graduate in like July, and then like August, I'm the CMO. Like it's not going to be that fast, but you know, that's
it's not part of the package deal.
Well, if it is that, you know, they'll put me on the website as a case study, but it's just more like, here's what I'm bringing, and here's what I hope it leads to, versus like, you know, a checklist, these 2-3 things. So that's just how I look at it.
That's absolutely fair, man. Most of us here at Anderson have, especially in the EMBA program, have a lot of experience, right? So you certainly have your fair share. But can you share some of the biggest personal or professional roadblocks that you've maybe faced along the way?
Oh, wow. I would say probably one of the biggest roadblocks was environmental. Had nothing to do with my skill set, but I got my undergraduate degree in 2009. It's not a great year to be getting out of college. And that just really put the brakes on a lot of things in terms of trying to find some momentum, and, you know, companies were just shedding workers. And, you know, I was 22 years old, and I'd be in the lobby applying for like an entry-level sales/marketing role, and the guy or the woman across from me would have like 22 years experience, and they'd be like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna grab like the former senior director who's now working an entry-level job who doesn't need training." So I couldn't get a job. I tried joining the military, like they broke me. I couldn't do it. Got mad respect for them, but it just wasn't for me. I would say that was probably one of the biggest hurdles. That really kind of amplified some of the soft networking opportunities, because like my parents are in education, so like they didn't know anybody who, you know, like ran departments and things like that. So that was kind of a big setback. Other than that, professionally, it's just been bad bosses. But those are easier to bounce back from. Something big environmental like that, like I've had some great bosses, I've had some not so great bosses, but it's easier to bounce back from a bad boss than it is, you know, economic collapse. So I would say that's how I look at it. You know, personally, I struggle with names, and that's not good when you're in marketing. And you know how like I try to be coy about it, but I also do work at it really hard to try to be better with like name association. I'll remember your face, I'll remember a lot about you, but I don't know why names don't stick. Like I said, that's a work in progress, but I probably nailed down those 3 things in terms of like just some hurdles. But like I said, just getting out from a bad boss like can immediately change like your career trajectory.
Absolutely, man. As you were mentioning these things, I was thinking about the, you know, the type of skills or strengths that like people need to have in order to overcome like any kind of hurdle, right? That being said, what would you say are your biggest strengths, either personal or professional?
Yeah, I guess like 5 years ago, I would have told you I was like resilient. You know, I was a boulder in like, you know, the bay that could withstand the storm, but like no one can be resilient forever. And so I've had to pivot to kind of sharing the load, building up external trust, really leaning into family and friends, and being vulnerable in a different way instead of just suddenly taking punches, letting people know, hey, like this is hurting. I don't know what type of help I need, but if you can think of something, it'd be appreciated. So So yeah, when you have challenges and setbacks like that, that's a new mechanism I'm working on. But also, like, I'm able to, over time, it's not instant, but with enough time, I like to problem solve. So like once I get past like those first emotions of like, oh, I can't believe this is happening, then I'm like kind of CSI mode. Like, what's the actual scene? Where's my outs? Where's my resources? And I go into problem solving mode, and I do a lot of role play in my head on, if I do this, like, what's the fallout? It's almost like decision chess, where I try to project how people can react to certain things, anticipate those reactions, prepare for them, and like make sure I have like the right counters, make sure I have the right considerations. And so that's something that I think has helped me a lot with my job. Is, I don't know, it's weird, like, I don't cool off, but I obsess about it, and the way I obsess about a setback goes from anger into problem solving. So while everyone else has moved past it, I haven't let it go because I know that we can keep iterating on it. It's kind of a weird way to phrase it, but it sticks in my memory. And then like when something similar happens, especially like I used to work agency marketing, so you have clients, so you have to have like a pretty good memory. You have to document some stuff because like they'll come back and say like, oh no, that's not what happened. You'd be like, no, that's what happened. Like, you hired a unqualified web dev who took your website down, right? That's why we didn't convert. And so you have to like keep these notes and tabs on things, and so that's also helped me. But you also have to like know when to let it go. So that's my other challenge.
That's very very interesting. Now, one of the things that I personally find extremely important, and I mentioned this obviously within our group, is that sometimes in order for us to care more deeply about a person is to know them, right? Like, the more you invest on the friendship, the more willingness there is for you to even want to help each other out. And it is just my perspective. But if there was something that you wanted to share that you felt that people here at Anderson needed to know about you and why that is important, what would that be?
The worst answer is to say good question, but very good question, Joe. What should y'all know about me? Let's circle back to that. I really want to think about it for a second. You got
All
anything
right.
else?
Remember we talked about that beforehand, and that question was not here. And actually, that question was not here for a reason, because I find that interesting in the sense that that is, in a way, a very loaded question, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, sometimes like those thought-provoking questions, right, are the ones that you have to like dig like deep inside of you, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. But you know, again, like my brain goes to role play, so I'm thinking like, what does the rest of IMBA want to know about me? I'm like, I have no clue what they want to know.
All
about
right,
me.
so while you think about it, let's do something else. And this is gonna be like one of those like, you know, rapid fire things, right? Like, so people could get to know Robert a little bit more, just about his taste and preferences. So I'll ask the question, and you give me like, you know, one word answer or whatever. If you want to add some context of why, let's do it in a relative rapid fire way. All right, you ready?
Ready.
All right, cool. So I think I know this one. What's your favorite book?
Ooh, I actually like Of Mice and Men.
Oh, all right. That's a good one. I was thinking it was going to be one of the Jurassic Park ones, actually.
I loved them, but Mice and Men and Old Man to Sea I always come back to. I like those.
All right. Favorite movie?
Like, honestly, let's go with Jurassic Park. It's cheesy, but like it was like the formative movie of my childhood, and I watch it every time it comes back on cable. Like, I love it. I got the box set, Jurassic Park.
Nice.
The first one.
Favorite actor?
Oh, this is bad. I'm really bad at actors. Like, and
Actors,
actresses.
actress.
Like, let's go with Idris Elba.
All right. He's a great actor, so.
Yeah. I liked him in Luther.
Let's talk about musicians. Who's your favorite musician? Either group, band, individual artist?
Favorite musician? I'll just say Usher. That was my first live concert. Dude killed it.
Dope. Now, favorite song?
Favorite song?
feel like these are loaded questions, man, because there's
No.
so much, but you got to dig one the most, right, over like the ones that make you feel stuff.
Right now, I've been jamming Juice by Tobe Nwigwe. He's based out of Houston. He's got Paul Wall on it. So that's my favorite song at the moment. It's dope.
Do you have one like more like all time, like
Oh,
classic?
all-time favorite? Oh, man. Like, I haven't... Like Miss Jackson? Like, I love Outkast. Like,
Miss Jackson?
like
Okay.
all time.
I wouldn't hate that.
No, I like solid song. It's just it's
Oh,
great.
it's more than solid, man.
It's like it's very spiteful. I don't know. I like it. It's great.
All right. TV show.
Oh yeah, I already said Luther. I love that show.
All right.
It's great.
Favorite sport.
Basketball.
Favorite athlete.
Ooh. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with James Harden.
All right.
Yeah.
And last but not least, the leader that you admire the most and why.
Leader I admire the most and why? Yeah, I think my godmother, Johnny, she taught me a lot. She was a wayward spirit. She actually went to UCLA for a year, when she was doing her undergraduate. But she's been like a really big mentor to me, and she's taught me a lot about like interpersonal dynamics, especially when the give and take, and like how to wield influence and how to defend yourself without being selfish. She's been extremely insightful, and she's been a rock for me my whole life. So
amazing, man. All right. Hopefully you got a chance to, in the back of your mind, think about the question, because we got to go back to it. That's going to be actually the closing question.
No, fair enough. So what you guys know about me? I don't know, like my sense of fun is a little different. I like collect like random facts in my head. And sometimes like my metaphors are a stretch and they kind of improv them, but they end up being right most of the time. Because that's something I really enjoy doing, is like helping explain and tie things together so people kind of feel in the loop. Kind of like a bridge communicator, so people don't really feel left out or exclusionary. So I try to mix it up. I don't want my metaphors to stick too much to sports or pop culture, or like vehicles. You want people to feel. But that's also like my primary way of speaking is through metaphors. So I'm always like rotating it through and testing new things. I have a lot of dry humor, but sometimes it's based in seriousness. Like maybe I am here to get discovered and do like 5 minutes of stand up. I joke about it, but you never know.
I did dig the fun facts. You got one?
All polar bears are left-handed.
Love it. Love it. Robert, it's been fun, man. I think that, I feel that we're definitely accomplishing the goal of people getting to know you, man. And I dig it, dude. I dig it very much. Any final words for those people that are going to be listening to this?
Answer the phone when Joe calls, man. Like, this is a lot of fun. This is really chill. But this is cool. And again, this for me, it's a stretch opportunity. So thank you for inviting me. Thanks for setting this all up. This was a lot of fun, Joe. Thank you so much.
Dope, man. All right, guys. So there you have it. Robert Hatcher, another one of the, the inaugural podcast, EMBA 2023 cohort. So, join us. I'll be reaching out to some of you, so that way we can have this conversation and everybody is willing to participate. Because, man, you can easily listen to this during a drive, during a run, or what have you. It's going to give all of us an opportunity to get to know the rest of our cohort family. So thank you all for tuning in, and we'll catch you soon.
Thanks again, Joe.